All right, so it says I'm live, which I did not realize. Let me just check Facebook. Remember, I'm still playing with the whole group thing, so I just want to make sure it is showing up there, or if I had to do some extra steps the last time. So let me see. No, I don't see myself there. All right, let me see if I see myself on my page. Hold on 2 seconds. It takes me a minute every time. All right, I'm definitely live on my page, so I have to do the extra step. All right, bear with me 2 seconds. So today, while we're doing this, today we are talking about storytelling, which is a fun topic. If you're on LinkedIn, say hi to me over there. I actually did a post about, so it's like I'm live, but I'm missing a piece. Okay. So anyway, this morning I actually did a piece about going old school. So one of the things, you guys know this because you follow me all the time, but one of the things I always talk about is one of the most important things is, strategy. And I want to say this. One of the most important things is foundation and strategy, and really okay. I know I'm driving you guys crazy if you're on here already. All right, so now I'm live on one. It would be nice if I could figure out a way to do this without humming live, but I don't know what that is. So bear with me. If you know, feel free to tell me. That's too funny. All right. Crazy, it's different. Well, that didn't work. Okay, one worked, one didn't. I don't know why. We're not gonna worry about it today. All right, here we go. So, storytelling. Storytelling, we all know, is as old as dirt, right? The Bible. If you're any other religion, you have something similar to the Bible, the Quran, the Torah. Anyway, whatever religion you are, you've got something similar to that in your religion. But fables, fairy tales, we all have heard stories since we were possibly in the womb, definitely little babies. We know that they've been around since way before us, right? So is it? Almost like I'm going live twice. Hopefully. And the funny thing is I think a couple of those where I couldn't figure it out, I don't even think they're in the group. So I'll have to upload those somehow, some other day. The power of storytelling and marketing. So storytelling has been around since the beginning of time. Your parents told you stories. And if you could think of, if you're on here, hashtag live, if you're on replay, hashtag replay. But what's one of the reasons that stories are told? Like, what is one of the reasons, besides getting you to fall asleep? That's probably a good one, right? But what's another reason that stories are told? What's another reason that people tell us stories when we're little? Typically, it's to get us to do something, to remember something, to understand something. There's always kind of a reason for the story, a lesson learned, the moral of the story, something like that, right? So when you tell stories online, I want you to think the same thing. There needs to be a purpose for your story. Don't just go out there telling random stories. And I know that in a lot of platforms, a lot of influencers or gurus or whatever you want to call them, I know that they're out there telling you, just be yourself and talk about your life. And that's, I don't want to say it's not true, but it's not true. You don't want to just go out there and talk about your life. How is that going to move you forward? That is not going to move you forward. You want people to get to know, like, and trust you through your stories. But your stories should be something that relates back to how you can help them, or, who you are in a way that can help them. Something like that. Everything that you do needs to be very, very, very intentional. So take it with a grain of salt when people are telling you to cry on your sleeve all over the internet. The point is not to cry on your sleeve all over the internet. The point is to show somebody you're not alone, right? You're not alone. Do you see how different that is? So you need to really think about that before you go, blah, blah, blahing all over the internet. Think about what you're putting out there. My mom's thing, would you want your grandmother to see it? That type of thing. So always think of those things before you put something out on the internet. And then first and before and above all else, how is it helping your client? If you can't think of how it's helping your client, don't post it until you can think of how that is helping your client. All right. Even if it's just helping them understand that they're not alone, that's okay. But you need to be explicit. Tell them, tell them if you're going through this, I've also been through this. Why do you want to do a past tense? If it is something traumatic or difficult, like, not difficult like our everyday lives, but you know what I'm talking about. Really bad, traumatic, that type of thing. You want to be over the hump. So conflicting stories, right? You hear Gary Vee, document everything, blah, blah, blah. Okay. You can document what you're doing in your business. Hey, I did this launch and it totally failed. And now this is what I'm doing to try it again. That's okay, because you're on the upbeat when you do that. But if you're in the middle of something tragic and terrible and you're not on the upbeat yet, you do not want to share that. You want to wait until you're on the upside. You want to wait until you can help them by the lessons you've learned. Does that make any sense to you? And I know I repeat this over and over. And the reason I do is because daily I see people, woe is me. That is not what social media is about. You've got friends and family for that. You are on social media if you run a business to help other people. It's not about you. Nobody cares. Yes, I did. Just say it. All right, let's move on. I do care. All right, let's move on. You know what I'm saying? Let's move on. Oh, here we go. All right, so if you follow me, if you know me, I'm a little bit cheesy and I like to work with acronyms when and if possible. So this first one, this is the first letter of our acronym, and it's S. So get your paper and pen out there. If you want to guess it, guess it. Guess it, guess it, guess it. All right, S, setting the scene. This is an easy one, just saying. Setting the scene. Why storytelling? So I already talked about one of the reasons, right? One of the reasons is because you want to have them take away something from it. And let's be honest, it is so much easier to listen to people when they're telling it in stories. Example, I sat through every single history class like this. I would get my notebook. I would go to history class. I'd get my notebook. I'd get a pen and I would be like this, listening to the teacher. And no lie, I would have maybe 5 words. It did not matter what time of day it was. I could be awake in the class before and awake in the class after. But when history came, the minute that teacher started talking, I went like this every single time. And that's even in college, I'll be honest. I didn't understand that history was even remotely fascinating until after college. I went to Spain and there was this very, very, very elderly gentleman out by the pool where I was staying in this place that had a pool. So in the afternoons, I would hang out there and this elderly gentleman would tell me stories about Spain. And I was like this. I was fascinated. And I realized then, these are stories. These are fun stories that like are teaching me about Spain. And those of you that know me know I moved to Panama. So a lot of my learning Spanish, I always say, the taxi drivers taught me Spanish because that's how I got in a lot of my practice. I would make up stuff to talk about. But Panamanians are very proud, like Texans, right? They're very proud people and they like to tell you everything that they know about their country. So when I would get into a taxi and start conversation and they knew it was okay to have a conversation with me, they would tell me about the country and they would go through it. I know more about Panama than I do about the US because what happened when I was in US history? Don't quiz me. Anyway, so storytelling is more memorable. It's more pleasurable. It serves a purpose. It's just awesome, right? You can tell something very complex and break it down and make it very simple through storytelling. So there's a lot of reasons to tell a story. So the first part of anything that you want to do is set the scene. That's what I just did, right? Why are we even talking about storytelling? That was me setting the scene. So you want to use storytelling in your business to grab the attention of people, keep people awake and listening and with you, right? You want to be able to leave something with them. It's a lot more memorable. All right. I don't want my things out right there. Drum roll, please. Storytelling is powerful. All right. I'm going to stop share and I'm going to start share. I want to play a video. Let me see if I'm in. I don't know if this is going to work. So let me go in my, where I know I'm live. All right. I don't know if this is going to work. So I'm going to stop start because I forgot to share with sound. If it works, then I'll keep it going. Hold on. I want to share sound, share. All right, let's see if this works. I want to share, it's 1 minute. It's very short, but this is going to show you the power of storytelling and then we're going to break it down. Yeah. It didn't change screens for you, did it? Oh yeah, it did. It did. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna turn up the volume on my phone real quick. You're gonna hear it twice. Okay, I hear myself. I'm gonna turn up the volume on my phone real quick.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
right, if that didn't give you goosebumps, I want to know. Because every time I watch it, it definitely does. Oh, wait. That. Hold please. That went into another video. All right. So if that doesn't give you goosebumps, I don't know what does. I love that. And if you know, I love Russell Brunson. He's so genius. I don't use ClickFunnels anymore, but he is genius and I still have him. You probably recognize that. He uses that in one of his manifesto, I think is where he uses it. Anyway, so powerful, right? When you hear that, it is, to me, one of the best commercials ever. All right, so we're going to go into talking about what that was 1 minute. If only, right? If only we could make a reel that powerful. I mean, maybe you have. All right, let's go. Just while I'm figuring out how to change pages, one of the things that I really want you to do is try this out, whether it's in long form written, whether it's in a video, anything. Tag me in it. I want to see it. I want to hear it. All right. Send me a DM after you tag me. Sometimes I get so many tags that I miss them. All right. Who are the characters? So in the, we're going through this, right? Albert Einstein, Martin Luther King Jr., Amelia Earhart. So we put some historical people that at least Americans, you know, that almost everybody knows who they are. They're change makers and innovators. These are people that changed the world, literally, right? So those are the people he chose to put in it. Who are the characters in your stories? And even if that character is you have to set the stage and then set why that character is important to the story, right? If they don't already know, these were important because they are change makers and innovators. So you want to think about who that character is. What was the setting? Focusing on the timeless impact of the featured personalities, no products. This was an Apple commercial that talked nothing about, I don't remember how long ago this was, but they talked nothing about computers or iPhones or anything having to do with Apple, right? Why? Because in marketing, in sales, in stories, it's about emotion. It's about pulling out the emotion in the people. Apple has such loyal, diehard fans because they see themselves in these people, in these stories. They see themselves as the change makers, the innovators. That's who Apple targets, and that's who are the diehard fans of Apple. So you can see how you might be able to create. I mean, this is not easy to do. I'm not saying that it is, but point is, think about it. Be intentional about what you're trying to do when you put something out there. You know, we talk a lot about personal branding is a lot about your values and everything else. But is this about Apple? No. So should it be about you? No, it's about helping or relating to their people. That's what this is about. Relating to you, the audience, the innovators, the change makers. So it's not helping Apple, right? Well, it is, but you get what I'm saying. All right, what was the conflict? Everything has to have like that moment. You know, when you watch the movie, it's like the peak where you're at your edge of the seat and you can't wait to see what happens, a cliffhanger. Or if you watch series, you know, they might end one and begin the next with something like a cliffhanger, like a series. They might end a season. Here's my on. They might end a season with one and then start another. So conformity versus innovation and the societal challenges that innovators often face. So in this story, right, we get that they were laughed at, that they were ridiculed, that they were told it would never work out, it would never amount to anything, and that they couldn't do it, that it was impossible. All of these things, right? That's the image that you get in your brain, in your mind, in your heart when you see these people, and you know that they kept going, they persisted through the societal challenges, through what everybody said, because they believed in themselves, they believed in what they were doing. So conformity versus innovation. What was the resolution? A brand for those who think differently. Right? And that was their like tag. That's not called tag, but you know what I'm talking about. That was it. That was their tagline. Think differently. That was it. But every time they put out one of these commercials, every time they talked about it, that was what they were saying. You're an innovator, you're a change maker, you can change the world, you've got this. Don't believe the naysayers, persist, keep going. So implicitly suggesting that Apple products are tools for innovation. So you're that person who needs the tools that they create that are the same as you. You see that? They've now tied you to their products. This is genius. I mean, this is genius marketing. But, you know, go for the best if you want a little bit of an example. And I'm not saying that don't do it if you can't arrive to this level. I mean, that would be ludicrous. What I'm saying is understand the examples. It's easy to use somebody like Apple as an example when it's so like, wow, and clear. What was the moral or the lesson? Again, we talked about this at the beginning. Make sure you have a reason. What do you want them to get out of it, to take away with it? So true progress and innovation require a willingness to think differently and challenge the status quo. And that's where they came up with think differently. Isn't that cool? I mean, let's read it again. True progress and innovation require a willingness to think differently and challenge the status quo. So can you write a sentence like that? And can you pull something out of it? Even if it's a chat quote, right? Think differently. Even if it's a chat quote, going to that video or going to that reel or going to that long form post. That's powerful. So how can you incorporate that in there? That was the end result that they wanted. So write one sentence about what the end result is. What is the lesson? What's the takeaway that you want them to get? Right? What is the takeaway? So what's the title of my thing? The power of storytelling and marketing. That's my takeaway. That's what I want you to get. I want you to understand how powerful it is to use storytelling in your marketing. I want you to know how to use it correctly, but I want you to understand how powerful it is because we shy away from it so often. We don't want to bring a little piece of ourselves into it a lot. Some people overshare. Some people, like me, I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum, way undershare. So we need to come up with a balance of, you know, sharing right down the middle, three little pigs, but with you, the audience in mind. That is the important part. It's not about Apple. It's not about their products. It's not about me. It's not about, you know, you hiring Erica. No, this is about helping you to write better stories for your marketing, for your business. You see? All right. Tales of success. Character setting, conflict resolution, and moral, lesson, outcome, whatever you want to say, right? So you can take a picture if you want to, but those are oh, this is the T, tales of success. These are the way, this is the format that you want to go to tell your story, right? Or not the format, but the, what the story needs to contain. What the story needs to contain. It should have all of this. So every time you write a story, go through this checklist. If the story is about you, you've got character down flat, right? What's the setting? Why are you telling the story? What's the conflict? What's the resolution, right? problem solution, you seeing it? And then moral, that's the lesson. You want to reiterate it. You want a CTA, call to action. That's where you want to get right there. All right. Orchestrating your narrative. See that little orchestrate your narrative, little Erica cheese for you. Emotions. We talked about all of these before. Emotions, relatability, clarity over cutesy. So I get super cheese, love, love, love cheesy. But do not let cheesy or cutesy overrule, take over clarity. Clarity needs to be everything. Clarity needs to be everything. So I do my little acronym because I think it's fun. I think it's cheesy, blah, 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 but I don't want it to take over what you're learning, what it's about. I want it to be a part of what you take out of this, right? And I also don't make it so like mysterious, cutesy, so that you have no idea what I'm talking about. You've seen that where people make these titles and you're like, what? Like, what are they even talking about? That is not curiosity. I mean, maybe it is, but it would have to be really, really, really clever to be also curious, because you have to be clear enough for somebody to understand it's for them to get the clarity out of it, right? So orchestrating your narrative. How are you going to tell that story? Write it out. What emotions do you want to evoke? How do you want to relate to them in your story? And if you are thinking about this, is there a way that you could do this every time you hit a story? Absolutely. Framework. All right. Reaching your audience. STOR. Hello. Do you have it yet? Drop it down below. Drop it down below if you know what it is. STOR. It's like an easy one, right? So reaching your audience. Align with marketing strategies. I want to say it again louder for the guy in the back. Align with your marketing strategies. Be intentional. Know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it all the time, right? So yes, you want to have that hook that gets them in, but you don't want clickbait because you want them to stay. So you want to have a hook that gets them into your story, but then you want them to stay because the story is great, because they know that they're going to get something amazing at the end of that story. They're going to learn something at the end, right? All right. So where can you reach your audience? It doesn't matter. You pick. Again, LinkedIn. Look at my LinkedIn post today if you're on LinkedIn. It's another thing I said. It doesn't matter. Obviously, the smartest thing to do is omnipresence. The second smartest thing to do is figure out where your audience is. But the reality is, go where you're the most comfortable and where you'll be the most consistent. That's where you really need to be. Don't worry about the rest. It's a big world. Your audience will be wherever you want to be if you're there. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because one of the most important things with marketing and sales is consistency. So go where you know you're going to do it again. You will reach your audience on there because you're on a platform that you love. You're passionate about what you're talking about. You're creating stories that are aligned with where you want to go. That's what's going to attract people, and you, right? Your knowledge, your expertise, your personality, whatever it is. So that's how you reach your audience. Don't get so caught up. Don't get so caught up in the technicalities of it. Go where you want to go. Once you get consistent and once you get good at going all the time, then work it backwards, right? Then figure out, all right, where are my audiences? If this is a good spot, let's double down. If this is an okay spot, but I am really consistent now, let's find out where they really are and move there. Or add there because you've got it going on now, right? Whatever you want to do. And then slowly but surely repurpose omnipresence, do what you need to do, get a team, you know what I'm talking about. So it doesn't matter if it's a blog, a podcast, live event, audio live, video live, interactive, Zoom live. It doesn't matter. It can be anything that you want it to be. Just do you be you, reach your audience, align with your marketing strategies, and tell your stories, whether they're your stories, they're somebody else's stories. Today I told Apple's story. To tell anybody's story, it doesn't really matter, but tell stories that will relate your marketing, your story, audience, all together. Got it? All right. Who is Erica Leary? Thanks for asking. All right, so we'll go quick on this page. A lot of you have watched me for a while, but this is a little bit of who I am, where I've been. I started back in the day in 2007 online. I started a digital marketing agency, and then it slowly but surely expanded into coaching. That's people ask you a ton of questions, and I am one of my top values is curiosity and questions. So I love that, and I ask a lot of questions too. So I kept learning and growing and looking for the answers, and that's who I am still today. Love that. These are some stages I've been on, some summits I've spoken on, some people I've met along the way. All right. Your action plan. End of the line here. STORY. I wasn't sure how long it was going to take me to tell that whole story. Let me see. Yeah, we're good. We're great timing. So your action plan. A goal without a plan is just a wish. You probably cannot see that, and I probably should have changed the color, and I'm not even going to read it. I'll try. Antoine de Saint something. Starts with an A. Anyway, that's the quote. A goal without a plan is just a wish. So action, action, action. Make sure you figure out exactly what you want to do with your story I'm talking about, right? Don't keep that story in your head. Don't keep it in your outline or on your paper or script it out. Bring it to the world. How are you going to bring it to the world? So that's your action plan. How are you going to get your story out there to the world? And when I say your story, you could have a couple of different stories, right? Could have a couple. Just for example, if for you as a coach or an entrepreneur, when was the day you knew you were meant to be a coach, an entrepreneur, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever, right? When was the day you knew you were meant to be that? That's your story. What's one challenge or obstacle that you overcame before you made it? That's your story. So there are a lot of different ways to tell your story. Don't get stuck on one of them. The power of storytelling and marketing. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Take your screenshot. Setting the scene. Tales of success. That was all of the pieces of a story. Orchestrating your narrative, figuring out how you're going to tell it, what's important, asking yourself those questions. What emotion do I want to elicit? Why am I telling this story? How am I connecting this to my marketing? Reaching your audience. Where are you going to be? How are you going to say it? When are you going to tell your stories? Where are you going to tell your stories? And then your action plan. Telling the stories. Just do it like Nike says. All right. Elevate Engage next week. Leveraging analytics to improve content strategy. How many of you are using analytics? How many of you are using analytics? How many of you are using analytics consistently in your business? Some of you aren't even, you're like, I'm not even like where I need to be using analytics yet. I hear you. I hear you. So come anyway, listen to the leveraging analytics to improve your content strategy, because if you go hardcore for 1 month, you have plenty to start with and figure out how to do that. If you want to start going hardcore, if you have no idea where to start, anything like that, hit me up in the DMs. I'd love to chit chat and see if I can help you move forward. All right, one more thing. Strategic success coming up, building a rock solid business foundation. This is next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 5 UK time. So it's 1 hour after this is. I want to say something. So somebody was like, oh, I've been in business for a couple of years now. I don't need to go to that. What? So let me tell you. Number one, strategy is always important. Whether you've been in business a day, a week, a year, 10 years, 20 years, strategy is always important, right? If you have no idea, if I asked you right now, What's your vision? Where are you going to be in 10 years? Why do your clients follow you? Why do they buy from you? If I asked you a series of questions like that and you could not answer every single one of them without going to see what you wrote down last year or 5 years ago, if you don't know those things, you don't have a rock solid business foundation yet. So back in the day when I used to do more brick and mortar type businesses, we always say the biggest bottleneck in every business is who? Yours truly, right? So the biggest bottleneck in your business is you. It's not seeing bigger, not planning bigger, not dreaming bigger, not thinking you can get bigger. That's one of the biggest hindrances to growth. But another thing I noticed is that a lot of them don't have the foundation. 10 years in business. If you asked the lady answering the phone or gentleman, the person, if you ask the person answering the phones, hey, what is the mission of this business? Like, why are you guys even really here? What's the main thing you do? Who's your main target audience? Why are they your main target? If you ask them all of these questions and they knew them all, kudos to you, but you're 1 in a million business. Most businesses do not have a rock solid business foundation. And so I challenge you, be there one way or the other. We can always learn. We can always step up our game, right? If you're here, oh, that was the end. If you're here, you can get to here. If you're here, you can get to here. If you're here, you can get to here, right? There's always another place that you can be. So I will see you next Wednesday. I have a link for that. DM me if you want to go there. Just drop strategic below or send me a DM. Drop strategic below or send me a DM. And I will send it over. And if you are not getting the reminders for this every week, it is elevateandengage.com. You can sign up. You'll get your reminders every week. Love to see you here. If you get those reminders, you can jump in the backstage. Oh, so cool. But you can jump on Zoom in the backstage and be part of the after party. All right. I will see you later. Have an amazing rest of your day, week. Tell some stories. Make sure you tag me in them and send me a DM if you tag me just in case so I don't miss it. All right.